Windy Watch, beginning with Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, there was a lot of interest in Porzingis, even though he's had some injury issues. He's very valuable as a center, as a guy who can step out, stretch the floor. There was a lot of teams interested. This move was part of the move with Drew Holiday that saved the Celtics over $200 million. I'd be remiss to point out this was a really good deal by Atlanta to get him. What they gave up and what they got. Atlanta sees weakness elsewhere in the East. They step forward and try to get better. That should be recognized. We also had a deal with the New Orleans Pelicans yesterday. They send the head of the Players Union, C.J. McCollum, to the Washington Wizards, picking up Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole obviously was a star with the Warriors, has not done so much with the Wizards, gives them firepower. The interesting thing about this, Greeny, the Wizards have put themselves in position with this trade to clear $100 million in salary cap space next summer. To do what with? I don't know, but they've done it. So let's keep an eye on that. And then late last night, Kyrie Irving faced a deadline yesterday, whether to opt into his contract or find a new deal. He goes 3 years and $119 million, says Shams. The last year is a player option. This number, which was in dispute during the day, there was a window during the day where teams in the league thought Kyrie might opt into his contract, which was problematic for reasons we can talk to later. This enables the Mavericks to have a little bit of space, about $5 million that they can go sign a point guard to fill in for Kyrie while he recovers from ACL.
You make the point this morning that if he opts in yesterday, last night at midnight was the deadline, and it looked like he might just opt in, which would have been the first step towards him probably being out of Dallas.
So that's the thing. It's a little bit not intuitive that if you opt in, it's a problem. Remember, this is what happened with Brooklyn. He was in Brooklyn. He had a player option. They negotiated. They couldn't come to terms. He opted in. Within a few months, he was demanding a trade. Now he's settled into a long-term contract. They can replace him for the first half of the season and move forward in a better position.
So the much-maligned Nico Harrison gets to keep that man, and who knows how good they might become. Stephen A. yesterday was asked who's the biggest threat to the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder, and this is what he said.
A healthy Dallas Mavericks would be my answer to this question. I'm looking at a Dallas Mavericks squad. We talk about Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. Well, what you gonna do against AD, Anthony Davis, with Lively, okay, with Gafford? What you gonna do when you got to deal with Kyrie, if you Shea and Jay Will and the boys, and Dort? Let's not forget Dort and Caruso. I understand how electric they are defensively. A healthy Kyrie Irving with the ball in his hands, I'd like to see that.
And the name that Stephen A. didn't mention in just that little part of the clip that we showed you, but obviously in the bigger picture does, is tonight they will add one of the most anticipated players in recent draft memory. So I turn to my Uncle Seth for that. How good is Cooper Flagg going to be, and how quickly is he going to be that good?
He's going to be next level because they're not going to ask as much of him because of the players that are surrounding him. I mean, when they get healthy, that was the key what Stephen A. said. When they get healthy, he's playing with Kyrie Irving, all-star. Anthony Davis, all-star. Klay Thompson, all-star. He's got other guys around him. So now all of a sudden, the best of Cooper Flagg is his versatility. He impacts the game every single time down the floor. His ability to make plays for others, his ability to rebound the ball and initiate the fast break. You can actually run your offense through him. He can post up. He can play off the perimeter. He can short roll. His versatility is perfect for this Dallas team. So name me another overall #1 pick that is surrounded by as good a talent as Cooper Flagg will be in his rookie season. So less will be asked of him. And the great thing about him, he just takes what the defense gives him. And I didn't even mention his defensive range because his 7'2" wingspan, his defensive range is ridiculous.
It's the beauty, as I've said many times, of the lottery system. Yes. The worst team doesn't get the first pick. I've loved it all along. And so a couple of ping pong balls bounced the right way, and he's on this good team. Tim Duncan, once upon a time, wound up on a team with David Robinson. Different circumstances, because Robinson had been hurt for the year. Spurs fell. They get Duncan. Next thing you know, they have a dynasty on their hands. Maybe we see something similar here.
Yeah, like Lively when he comes back and Kyrie when they come back. When they're whole with Cooper Flagg, this team is really, really going to be fun to watch.
Let's find out how much fun. Markeith, you know them as well as anybody can. When they're all healthy, and we don't know exactly when that's going to be with Kyrie, but you just heard that we know the people we're talking about here. When that group is all together and healthy, is that a championship caliber team?
Of course, that's a championship caliber team, right? You have 3 future Hall of Famers on the team, and they have a boatload of assets around those guys. They have guys that, they have a great age team. They have guys that are not quite 30, fall into that 28, 29, that prime guys, and you have guys like Kyrie, Clay, and AD, right? They have the best mixture of guys you can have to compete for a championship. And then bringing a guy like Cooper Flagg in, right? Just like Greenberg said, he don't have to do as much. He don't have to be a star right away. He can get his feet wet. He can get taught the game the right way. He had a bunch of great vets on his team and is way better, no disrespect, than going to a team like Charlotte, where he has to be the best player right away, right? Where he has to learn from guys.
Thunder. If there's been any team in the league that's been able to mark up the Thunder a little bit over the last couple of years, it's been the Mavericks, and that was before they sized up by getting Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis's ability to impact them defensively is pretty significant. So definitely a team to keep going, and because Cooper Flagg is such a modern player, he's not just a great talent, he is a perfect player for this era of basketball. He will slide into what the Mavericks have effortlessly. I think he's an impact player nightly from day one.
Well, let's talk about the legacy that he steps into. The one-and-dones who make the huge impacts on the NBA level. Let's talk about the players who he follows, all right? SGA was one and done out of Kentucky in 2018. He has now come into his own, 3 consecutive first-team All-NBA selections, and, of course, this year, regular season MVP, finals MVP, and a champion. Who else a one and done? Jason Tatum out of Duke in 2017. He's guided Boston to the best record in the league over his 8 years. First-team All-NBA last 4 years. And, of course, a year ago at this time, Tatum winning a championship. In an era where the big man is not always valued, Anthony Davis was one and done out of Kentucky in 2012. He's averaged 24 and 10 for his career, 10-time All-Star. And, of course, he and LeBron won a championship together in 2020. And maybe the greatest one and done in the NBA is Kevin Durant. In addition to his 2 titles and MVP, he's averaged 25 points per game in every season since he was 20. He will be 37 years old come this fall. And for a greater point on this, on the Mind the Game podcast, LeBron James, while offering high praise of Flagg, made the same point that Seth did about the situation he will find himself in.
He wants to be great. He had a hell of a year at Duke. A guy that can do so many different things on the floor, can play with the ball, can play without the ball. His jump shot is going to continue to get better, super athletic. He gets to join a team that's established. Kyrie Irving, right off the bat, Hall of Fame coach Jason Kidd. They can give him the whole blueprint while he continues to learn what his blueprint will be. So I think he's going to be amazing.
That's a similar point to the one that you were making, Seth, about what he will step into and what will and won't be asked of him immediately.
Look, you're only as good as your locker room, and he's walking into a locker room that is going to put their arms around him, and he's got a skill set that's going to complement anyone and everyone because he can be exactly what anyone needs him to be in that moment in time. He never chases a play. He reads the defense and makes the right play, offensively and defensively. His basketball IQ is off the charts. His skill level is off the charts. His passion and competitive spirit is off the charts. And he does it in a very understated way. Like if you watch Duke basketball, yeah, he took over some games. In some games, he was just a facilitator, made the right play for other people. It's because people tried to take him out of the game. So he's in a perfect situation. And look, Dallas is going to be for real. But one team no one is really talking about enough. What about Houston?
Yeah.
Because Houston, all of a sudden, KD didn't come there to just compete.
You like that addition. You like that mix.
I look at KD with that team, and I say, Shagun, KD, look, they lost Jalen Green. Terrific 82-game player. Terrific scorer. But what did that team miss? Were they playoff ready? In the playoffs, you got to have a guy that can just go get a bucket. In the playoffs, you got to have an offensive flow and a toughness. Yeah, you got to defend. I think that Houston significantly helped themselves.
Quick finishing take on this from Keefe. Who is the biggest threat? Stephen A. said it's Dallas. Who's the biggest threat to OKC in the West next year right now? Markeith.
I'm going to go with Stephen A. It's a healthy Dallas. When we see them all healthy, if they are healthy, I know they had problems with that over the past year, but it's a healthy Dallas. Like I said, they have a ton of assets. You got guys that like P.J. Washington, like Najee Harris. You got guys like that on the bench with guys with the starting 5. I mean, I don't see a better, team right now outside of them if they're healthy.
If after everything that happened last year, they traded away Luka and all of the, the coffins in the streets and everything else, and all of a sudden they win the championship next year, that would be unbelievable. Let me give you 3 things you need to know from last night if you are a baseball fan. It starts with Shohei Ohtani, who left the yard for his 27th home run of the year. Dodgers 9-7 over the Rockies. The only players in Dodger history who've hit more home runs in the team's first 80 games are Gil Hodges in 1951 and Duke Snyder in 1955. So it's been like 70 years since a Dodger has done what Ohtani is doing. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, Reds pitcher Chase Burns made an extraordinary debut. He became the first pitcher in the expansion era, so that means since 1961, to begin his career with 6 consecutive strikeouts. The Yankees did ultimately score 3 runs against him, but ultimately lost 5-4 and 11. The Yanks have now lost 9 of 12. Their lead in the American League East is down to 1 game. And then WNBA, Fever were up by 19 and ultimately cruised to a 94-86 win over the Storm. Aaliyah Boston led the way with a career-high 31. Caitlin Clark has been struggling. She scores just 6 points, tied for the second fewest in her career. This year in 4 road games, Caitlin Clark is shooting 1 of 28 from 3. Since she came back from the injury, 5 games, she's one of those 23. In WNBA history, there have been more than 2,600 instances of a player attempting at least 23s in a 3-game span. It's the first time a player has made only 1 or 0 of those. The draft is tonight. You'll see it. All the action here. Cooper Flagg expected to go number 1, and then the fun will begin on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Deportes with the second round tomorrow on ESPN. Coming up, back to football. Could a disastrous final year for Aaron and the Steelers mean the end of the line for his coach in Pittsburgh? We're talking about it next. Get up on ESPN.